All right. Today, we're putting on our hard hats and stepping into the mind of an architect. We're going to deconstruct one of the shakiest structures in the human psyche, people-pleasing. We'll look at the faulty blueprints, figure out why the building always collapses, and then we'll lay out the plan for a complete rebuild.
So let's start with a really foundational question. Just take a second and look at the life you've built for yourself. Your job, your friendships, your relationships. Is it built on your own terms? Or have you just been busy building guest suites for everyone else inside your own head?
To guide us through this, we're going to borrow the eyes of the architect, a way of seeing human behavior not as random, but as code. A code that, once you understand it, can be completely rewritten to unlock what our source material calls the super version of yourself. Okay, let's start digging in. First things first, the pleaser's blueprint. Now, the most important thing to get right off the bat is that people-pleasing isn't a personality trait. It's not who you are. According to the architect, it's a design flaw. It's faulty wiring that was installed a long, long time ago. This flaw gets hardwired into us during what's known as the imprint period, basically from the day you're born until you're about 7. This is when your brain is writing its most basic survival software. So being a pleaser, it isn't some conscious choice you made. For a lot of us, it's a survival strategy that's been running on autopilot since we were kids. So, how does this faulty code actually get installed? Well, it usually happens one of two ways. Scenario A, you just copy and paste. You see a parent who's constantly putting their own needs last to keep the peace, and you learn, okay, that's what good people do. Or there's scenario B, where you adapt. You have a parent who's maybe a little unpredictable or emotionally distant, and you become a master at reading the room to avoid making waves. Either way, the result is the same. You end up with a flawed blueprint.
And this, right here, this is a game changer. We tell ourselves we're just being kind, we're being helpful, but the architect pulls back the curtain and shows us what's really driving the whole thing. Fear. A deep, primal fear of being rejected, of starting a conflict, of just not being good enough. It's not a virtue, it's a defense mechanism.
Okay, so we've established this foundation is built on fear. Let's look at how that shaky foundation creates massive errors throughout our entire internal operating system. This is where you really start to see the cracks forming. So think of your mind as having this interface. When it's working right, it's like a high-tech filter. It lets good stuff like inspiration in, and it radiates your own goals and intentions out into the world. But for the people pleaser, that system is completely broken. It's just a wide open door for everyone else's needs and demands to pour in, and your own voice gets totally muffled. And that broken interface leads directly to the next huge system failure. You see, real personal power, that magnetic quality some people have, it comes from what our source calls the coherent nexus. It's that powerful, unshakable state you're in when your heart, your brain, and your actions are all perfectly in sync, when what you feel, what you think, and what you do are one and the same. And this is the problem in a nutshell. A people pleaser is living in a state of total incoherence. Your brain is screaming, I absolutely do not want to do this. Your heart feels that sinking feeling of resentment, but your mouth just opens and says, yeah, of course, no problem. That internal civil war is exhausting. It's a constant, massive drain on your personal energy. Now, you can't run a system with these kinds of flaws forever. It's just not sustainable. Eventually, the whole thing is going to overload. You're heading for an inevitable system crash. Let's break down what that collapse actually looks like in the real world. The first system error you see is the relationship chameleon. You meet someone new, and poof, your own identity vanishes. You suddenly love their favorite bands, you pick up their hobbies, you echo their opinions. You're not building a connection, you're erasing yourself to fit in. Then you've got the office workhorse. You're the first to volunteer for extra work, you stay late, you say yes to everything. You think you're earning respect, but what you're actually doing is teaching everyone around you that your time is worthless. You don't become valued, you become the dumping ground for tasks nobody else wants. And oh, this one is painful, the emotional dustbin. You're the friend who can listen for hours while someone else complains about their life, but they never once ask, so how are you doing? That's not a friendship, my friend. That's energy theft. They're just draining your battery to charge their own. And all these errors lead to a predictable 4-stage collapse. First, your identity just erodes away. You forget what you even like anymore. Then your body steps in. It starts saying the no that you won't, through burnout, chronic stress, or getting sick all the time. Third, a hidden bitterness starts to grow because you secretly expect people to appreciate your sacrifices, and they never do. And finally, your value completely tanks. It's simple economics. When a resource is always available, its perceived value drops to 0. Okay, so that's the diagnosis, that's the demolition report, but a great architect doesn't just point out the problems, they draw up a new blueprint. So now it's time to talk about rebuilding. It's time to construct the super version. And the plan is beautifully clear and simple. It's a three-phase job. Phase 1 is demolition. We have to actively interrupt those old automatic patterns. Phase 2 is restoration. We're going to repair that broken internal filter. And finally, Phase 3 is activation, firing up that coherent nexus and getting our power back online. Demolition kicks off with a simple but powerful tool. It's a pattern interrupt. Before you give that automatic yes, you have to stop and ask yourself this one single question. Am I about to do this from a place of genuine love and strength, or am I doing it out of fear? That question alone is enough to jam the gears of the old program. All right, Phase 2, restoration. This is all about fixing that broken interface. And your main tool here is the pause. It's so simple. Someone asks you for something, instead of an instant reply, you say, you know what, let me check my calendar and I'll get right back to you. That tiny little gap you create, that space, that's where your freedom lives. It gives you time to actually consult your own blueprint for a change. And finally, we have activation. This is where you bring it all together and reconnect your coherent nexus. The new rule of your life becomes incredibly simple. You only act from a place of coherence. If your brain, your heart, and your gut are all giving you a no, then the answer's no. Period. It takes practice, it takes guts, but it's the only way to build a life with real structural integrity. So, after all that work, what does the finished masterpiece look like? Well, it's no longer a cheap motel with rooms for everybody else. It is your own sovereign space. It's your throne room. I mean, just look at this transformation. It is night and day. You go from being a doormat to being the architect of your own life. You stop acting from obligation and you start acting from choice and strength. You go from being a wide-open receiver for everyone's demands to a highly selective filter of your own intention. You stop living in that exhausting state of incoherence and you start living powerfully in your coherent nexus. And really, this is what it all boils down to. This is the architect's final word. It's about taking back your own mental and emotional real estate. This isn't about being selfish. It's about being sovereign. It's about helping others from a place of genuine strength and choice, not from a place of weakness and fear. So, the new blueprint is right there in your hands. You've seen the deep flaws in the old design, and you have the three-phase plan for the new one. The only question left is the one right there on your screen. Are you ready to pick up the tools and start building?